All right, everybody, it's Thursday night. I just wanted to wrap up the Alabama-Georgia game real quick. Georgia goes down again on the road at Alabama, and just another totally heartbreaking game for Georgia, the Georgia fans, Coach Smart. It wasn't the worst case scenario. I said before the game, worst case scenario would be you go in there and you get blown out. And in the first half, that's the way that it was looking like it was going to go. To go down 28-0 on the road at Alabama, it couldn't have gotten much worse at that point in the game. But before we get there, let's just touch on a few things first. I didn't expect Georgia to go in there and win that game. I was hopeful that they would. I really wanted them to. I've said all year I thought this was a must-win game for Georgia. I thought this was the most important game on the Dawgs schedule, really just for a mindset. But going into this game, Coach Smart was 1-5 against Alabama. And 1-5 is not good enough. And when you've got Nick Saban on the other sideline, that's one thing. I mean, that's understandable. No, Kirby said after the game, who's got a better record against Bama than I do? And nobody in the Georgia media could name anybody. But when Coach DeBoer came in and took over the program, this was supposed to be Kirby Smart going into Tuscaloosa, getting a win on the road against Alabama finally to cement himself as the best coach in college football. Obviously, that did not happen. I had said before the game, I thought that Alabama was going to win 34-24. And Georgia goes down by a touchdown. They came and they fought back and made it a game, but it was looking ugly from the jump. It was not a good performance in the first half by Georgia. But before I get into the game, I just want to talk about a couple of things. First off, whatever we can do or got to do to make the Sanford Stadium game day experience better, we need to go ahead and do that, no matter what it costs. I'm the biggest Georgia fan that there is. I try to go to at least one home game a year to get the experience of being in the stadium and being at a game. I like watching it from the TV better because I can see everything. And the replays are just so much better on TV. And anytime I got to go to the bathroom, I can just go at my house. But I do like to go to one game a year to get the vibe of the stadium and the fans and the team and be there for at least one big game a year. This season, I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? I want to start going on the road to see Georgia play against other SEC teams in big games. And I've been talking about this Georgia-Alabama game for 2 years. I've been wanting to go to this game. Where better to start, making my journey around the SEC and their stadiums and their teams and the fan bases than on the road at Alabama, a number 2 against number 4 matchup. I don't really give a damn about the rankings at this point, but everybody knew this was the biggest game in college football to this point, and I felt like it was a must-go. I planned for it for a long time. As soon as the tickets came out, I got them the second day they came out, and I've been excited for this game for 2 years. So just real quick, Alabama has still got a step on Georgia when it comes to game day experience. And now Athens is built kind of on a lot of hills, and it's a lot harder to get around than it is in Tuscaloosa. There's nothing you can do about that. But game day in Tuscaloosa was a great experience. We parked on campus. We took a trolley over to the stadium. That was easy. Got off the bus, walked maybe a half a mile to the gate, and went right on in. Everybody there was cool. I probably talked to 50 Alabama fans there, talked to a lot of Georgia fans there. All the Alabama fans were great. And then we'll get into the stadium. Going into the stadium, it was just Alabama's got a great stadium. I've got to give them that. That is a beautiful football stadium. I liked how they had 4 TVs in each corner of the stadium. And my first thought going in there, we went in there 2 hours before the game even started. My first thought was how steep their second level is. Because at Georgia, you got the 100s and then you got the 200s, which are the boxes. Then you got the 300s right there, which in my opinion, at Sanford Stadium, those are the best seats in the house. If you're on the rail in the 300s, those are the best seats in Sanford Stadium. And then you've got the 600s. Well, Bryant Denny's only got the 2 levels, and that second row, that second level of seats is steep. So it just seemed like a really tall stadium that kind of trapped the sound. And I've got to say, their media department kicks Georgia's ass. But I mean, it was just I was there 2 hours early. From the music that they play to the stuff that they put on all 4 of the TVs, getting the energy up in the stadium, they've got Georgia beat. I mean, I've just got to say that. And I'm saying this to say there are ways that we can improve and close this gap. And game day experience, the experience in the stadium has got to improve at Sanford Stadium. So whatever we got to do to make that happen, we need to go ahead and make it happen. And I've been saying this about Georgia's stadium for years. Like I said, I do try to go to one game a year, a big game. I went to Tennessee in 2022. That was the best game I've ever been to in Sanford Stadium. It's the loudest game I've ever been to. But I do have to say that it was loud, very loud from the very first time that we got the ball. Really, let me back up. When their players were getting introduced, and Georgia fans, you know this if you go to our games, when Bama's players were getting introduced, the entire stadium erupted with cheers, not just the student section. At UGA, it's mostly the student section making all the noise. When Kirby Smart, their whole stadium was off the chain. And I get that it was a big game. I've been to big games at Sanford Stadium too. But it was loud in there the entire game. Not just on third down either. On anytime Georgia had the ball, it was loud. Now in the third quarter, it did kind of die down some, but loud. Like it hurt your ears loud. I could not believe it. I had a headache. So I don't know how these SEC players run routes and do their job in that noise and under that kind of pressure. So salute to them on that. I didn't see too many false start penalties by Georgia. I think we had 1 or 2, but it was loud in there. It was very, very loud. Very hard to do your job in an environment like that. But the main thing that bothered me was just, man, Georgia's got to play better music the whole game. I mean, I get that there's tradition and stuff like that, but these young kids, these recruits, they want to hear hip-hop music. They want to hear rap music. They don't want to hear any of that other shit. And Alabama did a really good job with the music, with the media, with the highlights of old teams on all 4 TVs. It was a lot of fun. So salute to them on that. And they got to step on Georgia when it comes to stadium experience. All right, getting into the game, and I've got to say this, Alabama has better players. I understand what the recruiting rankings have said the past few years. Trust me, I do. But I watched from warm-ups on, they looked like the better team. In warm-ups, they looked loose. They looked ready to go. They looked like they were having fun. They weren't tight, none of that. And they had some really big, really athletic guys, as do we. But at this point, I still think Alabama has better players than Georgia. I mean, you want to go down the line? Quarterback, who's better? Jalen Milroe far outplayed Carson Beck. All right, and this is the one that is the most shocking and the most depressing for Georgia fans. Running back. You cannot tell me that Georgia has not taken a massive step back at the running back position. The days of Todd Gurley, DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, those days are long gone. Now listen, I'm thrilled that Cash Jones has made the most of his opportunity at UGA and he's getting in the game. It's not his fault that he's the second or third best running back at UGA. But the fact that Cash Jones played 25 plus snaps on the road at Alabama shows how down bad Georgia is at the running back position. I almost cannot even believe it. Give me Dejon Edwards right now, and he is by far the best running back on this Georgia team. ETN's okay. Branson Robinson's god-awful. Nick Frazier's been missing since the Clemson game. And Cash Jones, he goes in there and he does what he can, but Cash Jones should not be on the field for 25-plus snaps on the road in this kind of game. And again, Nothing against him. I'm happy for the kid. He made a bunch of big plays. So salute to him for that, but we got to recruit better at running back. Wide receiver, Alabama's got the better wide receivers. All right, this one kind of surprised me. Offensive line, Bama's had some issues. Georgia's had some issues. I mean, who do you think has the better offensive line? What do you want to say? That's a draw? Georgia had a hard time in the first half, but they really pass protected really well in the second half when Alabama knew they had to throw the ball. So what do you want to say? A draw at that spot? Okay. Defensive line, you got to give it to Bama. You got to give it to Bama. Georgia's defensive line played a lot better than I thought that they would. But I just don't think they're on the level of Alabama, and I think that's one of the weaker spots on our team. I think that's a spot that we also, just like running back, we have slowly gotten worse at the D-line position since the days of Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, and that just shows how good. I cannot think of his name right now. The guy that plays for the Eagles, number 88. And I'm messing up bad right now. It'll come to me in a second. But linebacker. All right, I'll say that Georgia's got the better middle linebackers, maybe the better outside linebackers. And then you go into the secondary, both teams have got Jalen Carter. I'm going to get killed for that one. But Jalen Carter, that just shows how good Jalen Carter was on the defensive line. He covered up a lot of these problems that we had on the defensive line because he was that good and made everybody around him that much better. You go into the secondary, I mean, again, Georgia might be better slightly. I mean, I don't know after watching that performance. I mean, does Bama have the better secondary or Georgia? But the wide receiver position by far and away, Alabama's got the better players. And did Carson Beck just play awful and Jalen Milroe just play out of his mind? I mean, I think Jalen Milroe is a better quarterback. I think he's improved. Those intermediate passes that he struggled with, he was hitting on. He was throwing the ball with touch. Throws a way better deep ball for sure. There's no doubt about that. And everything short, all of his checkdowns, that pass out into the flat for a touchdown was a good pass in the first quarter for their second drive. So that's just an observation. And look, it brings me no joy to say this. I mean, it's heartbreaking that Georgia loses a game like this again. Even more heartbreaking because they came back. But I'm just being real with the Georgia fans, with everybody. Alabama's a better program than Georgia right now. I think this Georgia team lost its best players from last year in the secondary and Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, Kendall Milton and Dejon Edwards. And the guys who replaced them just are not as good. I mean, KJ Bolden's great. Don't get me wrong. We've got some good freshmen, but we've taken a step back at these positions. There's absolutely no doubt about it in my mind. So this was not a good look for Georgia at all. At all. Worst case scenario was that they blow us out. We ended up fighting back. But to be down 28-0 to Kalen DeBoer in Alabama on the road, there's just no excuse for that. None. I mean, there's just no excuse for that. Like, our program shouldn't be that far apart that the game is not even competitive in the first half. They were beating us to absolute death, okay? I'm telling you, it looked a lot less bad on TV than it did in person. In person, I'm telling you, they were beating the shit out of us. Kirby, I do like what Kirby did by slowing the game down, starting to run the ball a little bit just to get the ball out of their offense's hands and give our defense some time to breathe and adjust. But that first half was a fucking disaster. I cannot put into words how bad that looked in person. And the energy in the stadium was just rising and rising and rising. They smelled blood in the water for sure. So, I mean, and again, you want to put this on the coaches, the players. I mean, what do you want to put this on? Me personally, this game is on the players. I mean, what do you want Kirby Smart to do? You want him to coach him? You want him to set the edge and keep Jalen Milroe inside and come up and make the tackle all at the same time? I mean, the defense just got beat to the edge. Jalen Milroe getting outside in that first half and beat on the deep ball. I mean, what is Kirby Smart supposed to do about that? He's known since the first game about setting the edge against Milroe, and he still got there anyways. He's just a damn good quarterback. So I don't know. I mean, and moving on to the offense, I thought Mike Bobo called a good game. The plays were there to be had. Our receivers dropped the fucking ball. Arian Smith is a senior. We've been dealing with this drop situation from Arian Smith for 2 years now. All right, he looked better at points in this season, but that first play, that deep pass from Carson Beck, hit him in both hands right in front of me down at the Georgia 15. I was sitting in the Georgia sideline, 3 rows back at about the 15. That play was right in front of me. Hit him in both hands. You have got to come down with that football, and that totally changes things. Who knows who knows what would have happened from there? I'm not really a woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of guy, but if he catches that ball, it changes the whole energy of the game. And you're thinking we at least come away with the field goal there. Well, you never know based off of Carson Beck's play in that game, because he threw Alabama the ball 8 times, 8 of them. I took notes and counted. When I got home, I rewatched the game on TV. He threw Bama the ball 8 times. They caught 3 of them, and he had that fumble. So 4 turnovers from Carson Beck. 4 turnovers on the road in the SEC against a really, really good team is a losing formula. So to me, for me, I'm putting this game on Carson Beck. And this isn't like the old days where, oh, he's a kid. No. You're a pro now. Like, you're driving a Lamborghini truck. You're making millions of dollars a year. You are a pro. And his play this season has not matched up with the hype. And I said this on a previous video. He is so far away from the first pick in the draft. I'm in Smyrna, Georgia. He's from here to the Andromeda Galaxy away from first-round draft pick, the way he's played this season. Okay, before this game, throwing balls in the fucking dirt, throwing balls behind wide receivers on crossing routes over the middle of the field, to Dom Lovick in the Kentucky game, throwing it behind him and shit. And then in this game, you throw Alabama the ball 8 times. Good thing you throw it hard, because 2 of them bounced off their chest plate. Another few of them hit him in the hands and they dropped them. And the ball security whenever he had that fumble, this game is on Carson Beck, the 4 turnovers. That's the game. That's the game. Could Kirby have coached better? Everything in hindsight is 2020. I thought the coaches did an okay job. Now, we were totally unprepared for what happened in the first half. So you can put that on Kirby Smart. He's the head coach. Ultimately, Carson Beck and Kirby Smart for this game. Kirby Smart's the head coach. He's got to take some blame for not having them ready. Alabama did some stuff that you hadn't seen on film yet, but hell, we should have done some shit that you didn't see on film to even that out. If you're the best coach in college football, you don't get down 28-0 on the road. You just don't do that. You just don't do that. So I never really felt good going into this game. I thought Georgia would lose by 7 points or 10 points. They ended up losing by 7 points. Now, there were way more points scored in the game than I anticipated. But still, Alabama, in my opinion, still has the better football program. Just from top to bottom, from everything, from game day experience to fans yelling on all 3 downs. And I'm looking at the Georgia fans. Listen, I went to the Missouri game last year, and that game was going to decide the East. And that stadium was quiet. And I'm mainly looking at on the Georgia sideline, the season ticket holders in that first level. I don't even know what they were doing. And again, it just was never loud at that Missouri game except for on 3rd down. And I've never been okay with that. I've been saying that forever since I've gone to Georgia games. If you go to the game, stand up and yell and make it hard for the other team. Get your money's worth. There's a lot of other people that would love to go in there and stand up and yell the whole time. And I'm not trying to be a dickhead or bash Georgia. Nobody loves Georgia any more than I do. I'm trying to get this shit right. I would like to see us continue to get better and ascend as a program. And I'm just pointing out areas that we can get better. That's all. Alabama's still just a step ahead. So salute to them, for game day experience. Their fans were great. They made it loud. They made it tough. They did what they were supposed to do. I will say this to the Alabama fans. What the fuck? Coming out of halftime, why did y'all change your whole game plan? Am I the only one that saw that coming out of half? It looked like y'all's defense went into keep everything in front, just keep everything in front and come up and make the tackle. No matter how much space you got to give them, if you got to give up 25 yards and come up and make a tackle, do that. And Georgia went right down the field on 12, 13 play drives. I was shocked to see that. And an adjustment was never made to go back to an aggressive defense from that. It was shocking. So, did Georgia get back in the game because, Georgia just turned it on? Or did Georgia get back in the game because they made plays when they were supposed to? They did what they were supposed to do to go down the field and score and start putting some pressure on Alabama. And then the second thing that Alabama did, they started running the ball into the middle of our defense, and we stopped the run. We did what we were supposed to do on that. But, who knows? What would have happened if Alabama would have just said, guys, everything we're doing is working. We're going to stay aggressive, keep throwing deep balls. Why'd they stop running Milroe to the edge? That was shocking to me. I couldn't believe it. I was happy to see it, them running the ball in the middle for no gain, for a 2-yard gain, and us stopping the run. But, if Alabama would have kept on the gas and kept doing what was working, bro, that was over. That was over. So that was strange. So, that's kind of a part of the game that I'm going to wonder about. Like, is Georgia really 7 points less good than Alabama, or did Alabama let off the gas? Probably a combination of the two. And, salute to Georgia for fighting back. That was a tough road environment. Again, I got a headache from being in there. So how those guys operate the offense under that kind of pressure and that kind of noise, hats off to them. Honestly. But I used to watch the 30 for 30s and the Football Life and stuff like that of all these teams and guys. And I remember watching one on Bill Belichick. And this is after Tom Brady had 3 or 4 Super Bowls. And Belichick's coaching Tom Brady at practice one day. And Brady comes to the sideline, and Belichick was like, man, I'm not going to congratulate you for doing your fucking job, Brady. And this is like a 3-4 time Super Bowl winning quarterback, and he's talking to him like that. So fighting back in this game and making it close, man, at Georgia, that's what's expected. Like, what was the other option? Lay down and die and let Bama and just totally embarrass you and blow you out by 40, 50 points? That could have gotten ugly. So, I'm glad they fought back and all, but, I'm still not happy about it. You lost. You were down 28-0 on the road to another team. That's not okay. That's not where – now, I thought we were going to lose this game, but down 28-0 on the road, that's not where I thought we were as a football program. That was shocking to me. So, we just got to get better. And going from here – what we can do to improve, like, we have to win, number one, because this was a bad look, y'all. This was a bad look for Georgia being down like that. Recruiting, all the Alabama recruits in there were going crazy. That was an electric, fun, upbeat stadium, and Alabama got out to a lead. There was so much energy in the stadium, and Georgia just looked bad in that first half. Now they fought back and made it close and everything. I get all that. But what does this say to recruits that Georgia cannot beat Alabama? Georgia's now 1-6 with Kirby Smart, bro. 1-6 is not good enough. It's just not. We have got to start winning games against them. You don't got to win them all, but you got to beat them some. Can we get a third of the time, half of the time, something better than this? It's got to get better than this. This is bad. So recruiting. I'm worried about recruiting. We have not had a 1,000-yard wide receiver since Terrence Edwards in 2002. That's unacceptable. That is not good. Running backs taking a step back. That's not good. We got to get somebody in there at quarterback that's dynamic. I can't believe we let Raiola go to Nebraska. I can't. I get that his dad went there and all that. That's a big loss. That kid can play football. But so what we can do, we've got to win the rest of our games. We can't have another performance like that. We have got to keep our foot on the gas, and we got to get a fast start. God, for God's sake, can we get a fast start against Auburn? We got to look good against the rest of the teams that we play. The Texas game becomes a must-win now, and we can't lose to anybody we're not supposed to lose to. We got to finish this season 11-1. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. You got to play your ass off. You can't have any mental mistakes, mental lapses. You can't sleepwalk through a game like you did Kentucky in the first half against Clemson. Man, all that's gone. You got to play your ass off and come out fast. I mean, you got to fight like you did in the second half against Alabama. You got a desperation time. Like, we got to have it now or never. You lose another game, you let this season get away from you. You lose another game, you might go 9-3. I mean, I'm just saying, I would hate to see it, but we got to win the rest of our games. That starts with Auburn. So going into the Auburn game, Auburn's spiraling, okay? Auburn still got some good players. Whether Hugh Freeze will get it turned around, I don't know. I mean, at first I was saying yes. But, I mean, apparently he's got some heat on him now from the Auburn fans. Peyton Thorne's a freaking disaster. Peyton Thorne's a god-awful quarterback. How, if you're Hugh Freeze, you didn't go into the portal and get some or a kid out of high school that was better than him and promise him, hey, you come in, you play better than Thorne, you play right away. How that wasn't on the forefront of his mind this offseason and last, man, I don't know, because he's bad. He's bad. So for Georgia, we've got to come out fast against Auburn. And look, we don't got to blow Auburn out. I mean, I would love it if we would, but if we could just play good, competent football on offense, defense, and special teams all 4 quarters, that's what I'm looking for. And to have we got to have fantastic home environments this year. Our fans have got to come through in these home games, and we've got to go on the road, and we've got to win a game against Texas. We've got to beat Ole Miss, and I would love nothing more than to blow Tennessee out at home. I would love nothing more than to see the Vols go down at Sanford Stadium again. I want them to come in there undefeated. I really want Tennessee to come into Sanford Stadium undefeated so we can shut them down. And recruiting. I've been on this wide receiver and defensive line thing all year. Now I'm going to add the running backs to that. The running back position at Georgia is bad. It's awful. I'm sorry. It's awful. Branson Robinson is not any good. Cash Jones is not any good. We haven't seen Nate Frazier since the Clemson game. I mean, he played some against Tennessee Tech. Didn't see him at all against Kentucky until the second half. And Etienne's okay. Bro, Etienne's not an elite running back in the SEC. Stop it. Stop it. He was a good player on a horrible Florida football team. He was one of the best weapons they had. Bro, I'm telling you, he ain't elite. He ain't Todd Gurley. He ain't DeAndre Swift. Hell, Dejon Edwards is a better running back than Etienne. I'm telling y'all. He's the best we got, but he is not to the standard of what the Georgia running back position. It's not what's to be expected when you're at Georgia. And again, I'm happy. I really am happy for Cash Jones that he's getting to play at Georgia. That's got to be his life dream come true. And he made plays. But man, we've got to have a higher caliber running back than that to win SEC championships, to win national championships. Cash Jones isn't getting that done. And again, he made some plays, but we got to have better. We've got to get some 5-star wide receivers, and we got to develop them. And defensive line, like, you cannot miss on these defensive line recruits anymore. So recruiting, I mean, that's how we close the gap against Alabama. Now, they got the better of us again. I thought it was obvious that they had the better players, that their stadium was awesome. It was a really fun game to be at. Now, I wasn't having any fun at all in the first half. I was happy that Georgia came back and made it a game, but the whole time I knew. One of my good friends is a Bama fan. We went to the game together. We saved up for a long time and got these tickets. And when Georgia came back, he was livid. And I'll put his YouTube channel down below or something so you can see it. But he was mad when Georgia came back and took the lead. And I was like, dude, you act like we don't both know how this is going to end. Like, just let me enjoy 2 minutes of this game, 2 minutes out of the 60 of this game, with us having the lead. I was like, and Carson Beck's going to throw you all the ball. So I think they ended up going up. And Georgia gets the ball back. We're driving down the field, and he's like, I'm so mad. This shouldn't even be a game. We should have never took our foot off the gas. And I said, bro, don't even worry about it, because Carson Beck's going to throw you the ball in 3 plays. And in exactly 3 plays, Carson Beck threw that interception in the end zone. And it was a bad ball. I don't know why Carson Beck thinks that every single throw, every single throw, it seems like for him, he thinks it has to be a back shoulder throw. If he would have just led him to the corner of the end zone, man, that was a touchdown. And then Colby Young's got to fight for the ball. I mean, what was that? I mean, you just watch him catch it. Man, push him down. Horse collar, face mask, anything besides letting him just catch the ball and end the game right there. So we got to recruit better players. Sanford Stadium, you got to play better music from start to finish at the Georgia games. Like, man, whatever song that we play for kickoff, I think it's Teenage Wasteland. I don't know. Whatever it is, keep that. You want to keep that, that's fine. But other than that, man, it's got to be nothing but the band playing Georgia's fight song and hip-hop music. I'm sorry. Man, that's what these kids want to listen to. That's what the young people want to listen to. That's what you got to play. I mean, it's got to stop. You got to do a better game day experience. The replay department, too, at Georgia. The whole media department in charge of Sanford Stadium's got to do a better job. Any enhancements that we can make to Sanford Stadium, I was kind of like, man, you can't block off where we watch the games from the Tate Center and where the railroad track used to be. You can't do that. Now, bro, fuck it. Whatever we got to do to make that stadium better and enhance our game day experience, bro, that's what we got to do to stay competitive and to win and to be at the top. Straight up. Recruiting, we got to do a better job on offense. I cannot be the only Georgia fan that notices. Does it seem like our recruiting classes are defense heavy? I mean, I can't be the only guy that's thought that, the past 4 or 5 seasons where we've got so many 4 and 5 star guys on defense. And we got some on the offensive line, but on the offense, man, it's not the same. It's not the same, and it showed on Saturday. So recruiting, we got to get some big-time wide receivers. We can't miss on defensive line anymore. 5-star running backs, got to have it. Got to have it. Quarterback, got to have it. So that's just my thoughts on that. Again, it doesn't bring me any joy to say any of that. I mean, I would have loved for Georgia to have went on the road and blew them out. Would have loved it. It didn't happen. Didn't come close to happening. In my opinion, Alabama's still a step ahead from bottom to top, and I hate it. I hate it. I really do. I hate being 1-6 against them. I hate losing to them. But regardless of that, my favorite team to watch Georgia play against is still Alabama, because at least I know what we are. At least I know what we really are. Like, that's real competition. Like, that is a fun game to watch every time. Have we come out on the losing end of it? Yeah. But you got to see where you stack up against the best in college football. I would love if every game that we played was a big game. Ohio State, Southern Cal, Notre Dame, all the best teams in the SEC. I can't wait to play Tennessee. I can't wait to go on the road at Texas. I love the big game because that's when you find out what you are. So we got down bad early. It was horrible. It was god-awful. Credit to the team for fighting back, but man, I'm not taking any more victories out of that. Like, you lost. You were down 28-0 in the first half. That's embarrassing. It shouldn't. I didn't think that was going to happen. So you got to get that cleaned up. You got to recruit better players. You got to win the rest of the games on your schedule. Now, can Georgia win the SEC and a national championship this season? In my opinion, no. And I'm just being real with you guys. I don't think we have the players at running back, defensive line, wide receiver, and now quarterback. Carson Beck played awful. I'm just saying what it is. 4 turnovers on the road against Alabama. Didn't look good against Kentucky. He just hadn't played well. So I don't think we have the team this season to do that. If you go in there and you get a win on the road at Texas and you don't drop a game that you shouldn't, I think you're going to get in the playoff. Now, this is why we play the games. Now, anything can happen. Georgia can do it. I mean, that's why we play the games, but they've got to play lights out football. We've got to cause more turnovers. We cannot turn the ball over like we have. Carson Beck's got to play better. We've got to coach better. Just a lot of things have to happen for us to do that. I would love to see it. But they would have to play their ass off. And I this season, I put that Alabama game on the players. And this season, I just don't think that we have the guys that we've had in years past where we won championships, where we won the SEC. I just don't think it's there. I just don't see it. I would love to be wrong. If I'm wrong, you can come on here and say you don't know shit about football and tell me how stupid I am, how mean I am, and how I don't have any faith in Coach Smart, and how mean I am to the Dawgs, and how dare I criticize them, just like you guys have done for years and years and years. that's fine with me. But anyway, so you got to get better. You have to look competent in all 4 quarters on offense, defense, and special teams against Auburn. You don't got to blow them out, but you got to look good from here on out. I just want to see a complete football game against Auburn. A little bit later in the week, I'll upload a score prediction and a video about what I think about that game and everything like that. I think Georgia's going to win the game. By how much, I haven't made up my mind on that yet. So sorry, Georgia fans. Again, it's rough. It's heartbreaking. I know that it hurts. I trust me. I was there. I have my hopes sky high for this game. When we were going down the field to take the lead, my hopes were sky high. And then when I looked and saw how much time was left on the clock, I knew. I hate it for us, man. We just cannot beat those guys. And we just got to take steps to get better from where we're at right now. That's all we can do. All we can do is start from where we're at right now. We're 3-1. Everything is still in front of us. You got to win the games you're supposed to win. You got to go in there and fight for your lives on the road in Austin, Texas, and find a way to play your best football game right then. Be healthy later in November and just see what happens. And just play your ass off and hopefully be healthy and let the cards fall where they may. So, again, a tough one for Georgia, man. It really is. But I hope we can do better from here. I hope we play better, all the players. I hope we coach better, everything, because we got to have it. We can't let this season get away from us. So go and get a win against Auburn and just play good football for 4 quarters for once. That would be fantastic. Hope everybody has a good Thursday. Thanks for watching.